My head. Hey, what's up you all? It's your girl Quan and welcome back to the PopQuan podcast vlog. If you are new here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and if you're returning, you already know what your name is. What's up my PQ kernels, my PopQuan kernels? What's up babies? So on today's video, it's going to be short, simple, and sweet. I just wanted to let everyone know, how do you start a podcast? And everyone knows, you know, I have a successful podcast. If you have not yet listened to it, it will be linked in the description box. So let's jump right into this video. Alright, so you all, when you first start a podcast, let me tell you, because I'm gonna tell you about my experience. When I first started a podcast, I didn't know anything about podcasting. I didn't know where I was going to actually have my podcast, you know, being played at like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I didn't even know how to get to that point. So I started to do some research. So step number one, when starting a podcast, make sure you have the exact name that you want to name the podcast, because you know you want the name to pop. You can't just have like a generic name because everyone's gonna be like, oh, I already heard that podcast. You want your name to stand out. So I named my podcast PopQuan Podcast. My name is Quan. So I was like, oh, let's PopQuan. Let's get it. Because I was just like really going through the names, and at first my name was gonna be Quintessential Quan, which is the highest example of a Quan. But I didn't think that was just so, like, everyone's vocabulary is not that broad, if that makes sense. So I was just like, let me just take it back in, and we're just gonna do PopQuan. So I came up with the name exactly, PopQuan. After, you know, getting it together, I didn't know how exactly did I want to spell it, with 2 N's or just 1 N. So I just went ahead and spelled it with 1. Step number 2, after you have successfully found the name that you want to name your podcast, make sure you get you some LLCs, or you at least trademark that name so that name belongs to you. Don't, you know, I mean, if you're not making no money off of it, it's up to you if you want to go ahead and get your LLCs. But don't get upset if someone steals the name. That's where you cannot get upset. So I always recommend, go ahead and get your LLCs. If you are in the state of Georgia, your LLCs are probably like $100. They're not that expensive. But I mean, I don't count everyone's pockets. I'm just counting my pockets, my coin. And we're just going to keep that. Next, after you have successfully, you know, filled out your LLCs and they have told you, you know, you have received the name and everything like that, and the business belongs to you. So you move forward. That's when you go and you do more research with your brand. Research what is trending podcasts, like what are trending topics of podcasts, Trending topics podcast. So you need to know what exactly are you going to talk about on your podcast? Are you going to talk about trending topics? Are you going to talk about something specific? Are you going to talk about like being a mom, being a dad, being a college student? Like, what exactly are you going to talk about? You have to know what you're going to talk about. So my podcast, personally, I just did trending topics because my brain is always everywhere. Like, I don't know, like, it's so much going on in the world right now. Like, I was just like, whew, child, like, you're about to sweat my weave off. Like, So after you have successfully found the target audience of your actual, you know, podcast, and you have targeted exactly what you're going to speak about and who is going to be your audience, you have successfully did that. That's check 3. So after you do that, next you need to make sure you have your equipment. So if you don't have the equipment, it's okay. Everyone does not have the, you know, high-tech equipment. You don't have the mics, you don't have the computer, you don't have everything you need to have. It's okay. Don't stress yourself out if you don't have all the equipment. I got something better for you all, because I did not have no equipment when I first started. I had absolutely zero equipment. I literally had a mic, a $20 mic off Amazon that was completely trash, that I don't even record on at all. Still to this day, like, no, I'm not recording on that crap. So what I did was I actually asked my friend, and if you have some successful friends, they don't mind, you know, assisting with your success. Ask them, can you use some equipment that you see that they have? So shout out to one of my friends, her name is Bria. I actually used her MacBook Pro to record my my first episode. I didn't have any mics. I just used the MacBook speakers, and I was in a quiet setting, literally, like how I am now. I'm in a quiet setting. I literally recorded that probably like in an hour. I recorded the first episode. That's where I was like, okay, you know, I kind of knew what I was doing. After you have gotten successful with your equipment, you need to figure out which software you're going to use when you're actually recording. So there's different softwares that you can use to, you know, display your podcast. The actual one that I use is called Anchor. Anchor is a successful app that I utilize a lot. That is my baby. It has helped me get to point A to point B. So Anchor basically will help you edit your podcast, add in music, your intro music, and as well as, you know, make sure everything is clear, concise. It will get you sponsorships, and it will keep your analytics for you. So that was something that I was like, yes, I'm going to use this actual app. And I knew this was gonna be successful because Anchor was not as big as it is now, but it was like a lot of people weren't hip to it yet. So I used Anchor, and another software that I actually use too is GarageBand. GarageBand, you have to play with it. If you don't know how to use it, you need to get on YouTube because it's not for the weak. I'm just gonna be completely honest with you. You can go in there and make a whole song in GarageBand if you want to. But it's really up to you and how you want to do your podcast. So after you have did that, you record, you know, you're ready to put it out there. You need to promote your podcast. Do not sit here and just throw it out to the world and expect you to get almost 5,000 plays. My first episode, I kid you not, my first episode got I think it was like 100 something plays within the first day or two, maybe. It got that. Now I'm like every month I'm roughly getting like 100, you know, plays, but at the same time I'm being consistent. As of now, I have 5,800 plays as of today, and I'm a year in the game, and you have to be consistent. You have to promote your business and be consistent. So if you're gonna start a podcast, this is not something for the week. Don't just think automatically overnight that it's going to pop. It's not going to pop overnight. It's never going to pop. Like, you're gonna have to be consistent. Some of your topics are gonna be like up here and people listen to, then some of them gonna be down here and people are not listening to. It's just really up to you how you display it and promote it. Like, and who's your audience, like people who are dealing with you. PopQuan has actually, you know, increased to a empire basically. We have PopQuan photography now, and we have PopQuan podcast, and we're going to continue to get bigger, and we have PopQuan podcast vlog that is on YouTube that we're currently speaking of. So when you start your podcast, it can just be so simple, it can be so easy, and you can just start off like with something so small, and you can build a freaking dynasty, if that makes sense. So I hope this actual video was very helpful to you all. I mean, it's so easy to start your podcast. You just have to be consistent, and you have to be you have to be willing to learn. If you're not willing to learn, don't sit here and waste your time. If you want me to explain what type of mics that I use when I actually film my podcast, leave a comment below and say, hey Quan, basically we wanted to know what type of mics you use for your podcast, and I will do a video on that on the next video. So you all, again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video.